Anything specific that you want to touch on?
Yeah.
What from like STDs to
From lots of stuff.
There's no reception. Raw, this chair's fucked.
even more fair still. It's not the immigration.
Oh. Every positive. Is the camera on?
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We remove all this stuff. Don't worry. Don't worry. No, not me. Is it me?
Me and Kilo. We're talking about aunties now, like trying it. Like aunties now rule you.
Oh, that wasn't my one. I
Yeah.
didn't have that.
I got step 2. Drawn. This woman drew me in a way that I couldn't believe it. No, I was surprised. Like,
I would have. We covered that. We've done that episode 10. Didn't you watch it? Oh no, but I think didn't we? Yeah, we covered that. Episode 10. Would you wife your chick with kids?
So welcome, gang. Welcome back to another episode of the Short Back and Side Show. Today we have a really interesting topic, actually. A topic that is a must say. What we're going to talk about today are some of the key health concerns that face the Black community. Things that I don't feel like as a community we're really up on. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. We're going to go through lots of key stories, some personal stories, some key facts to hit it home. So going to introduce everybody we've got with us today. So on the very end,
Milli Mike, you already know. Yeah, no wheezy.
How am I supposed to stop that? Pleasure P.
Pleasure P in the building. And a special guest. Let her introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Martina.
Fantastic.
Trife.
Man didn't sound...
You know who it is, man, like Mr. Blake, another Northwest representative.
Don't know.
And the doc. So, this has actually been really interesting doing some of the research on. I didn't realize, I kind of picked it up. I used to always say this in medical school because it was quite interesting, is that medicine is actually racist. Now hear me out. When I say that, as in there's lots of diseases that unfortunately favor you because you're of a particular ethnic makeup. And in the Black community, there are quite a few that we are just predisposed to because we have Black in us. So to kick things off, I'm going to say, do you know how much more likely a Black man is to have a heart attack? I'm going to ask you. If you compare it to a white.
3 times more?
Decent. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say 3 times more likely.
I'm going to go 4 times.
4 times.
I'm going to just say 5, but because of the kind of food we eat, we're a bit more...
You reckon it's because that's going to be our next question. What do you think it is? Okay. Yeah. You reckon 5? Okay. So it's interesting because the statistics basically say that we as Black people are more likely to have heart attacks. And not only are we more likely to have heart attacks and heart disease, we have it earlier than white people. So the way to look at it is for every 13, this is below the age of 60, for every 13 white people that have a heart attack, there'll be 17 Black people that have a heart attack. That's below the age of 60. Why do you think that is?
You know what? Let's start with... Yeah.
Why have you started with me?
No, the reason I went for you because of your clinical background and what you do, and therefore some of the things you see, I feel are major contributions to the stats that the doc has produced for us today.
Yeah. Because obviously, for thinking mental health wise as well, in terms of accessibility and provision, it's not great for us. And if we're looking at things like therapies and stuff like that, how often are they culturally competent? You know, we're more likely to be medicated or sectioned than to have the ability to access a talking therapy service that feels that it's safe. We also have issues within our communities as well. So, yeah, I'm very proud to say I grew up on a council estate.
Yeah.
I think we all, all of us. Yeah, all of us.
Yeah. And I would never change that. But I know what it's like compared to some of the people that I went to school with who didn't have to deal with what the estate had. Yeah. And then in terms of kind of things like financial stuff and like pressures, I remember overcrowding. So I actually grew up in a 1-bedroom flat in a 4-person family. So it was literally, beds stacked together and a cot. So it's like in terms of thriving, and if we're looking at, I don't know if you lot know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Try not to be too technical here. But the basics that we need to thrive are things like home, environment, sleep, shelter, water, food. Sometimes in certain aspects of our community, there's not that provision that's there for us and there's difficulties. So in terms of just trying to focus on living, we also have that going on. The accessibility, the provision, the dismissiveness as well of when we do access health services. Yeah, and as well as I'm speaking as a Black woman as well, I'm not going to be taken as seriously as some other people because I'm meant to be strong, or my pain might look different, or my tears or my suffering might look different. Good point. Do you get what I'm saying? So all of those things I'm fighting as a Black woman and as a Black man, like, I can't speak on a Black man experience, but I know that when we approach services, we are looked at very differently.
I just want to jump on that because for those that don't know, I actually part of the patient liaison group for the British Medical Association, and I'm the only Black man on it. And I've written a blog about the cultural bias in the NHS based on the death of the woman in Liverpool. So I thought it was quite telling that you brought that up as a Black woman that has obviously experienced that. And I guess I want to flip it back to you, Doc, because as a doctor who is Black yourself, have you seen those inequalities firsthand?
It's really difficult because I guess in my practice, I'm always advocating for Black people, you know? So I think on a personal level, whenever I'm in situations, I don't know if I'm in a situation and people therefore act the way they should do or respond the way they should do, but I can't say while I'm in my clinical practice that I ever witness it.
Is that respond to a person in need of medical services?
Yeah, but the thing is the NHS is very fractioned when it comes to services. So mental health care is really badly underfunded. And so lots of people who are in dire need don't actually really make it to hospital. They end up in, tertiary centres. And I have to say my experience is more surgical. I've not really had much interaction on that level. So I don't get to see it as firsthand.
But what about when you was coming up, when you was a junior doctor per se? Did you come across situations where you're like, yeah, that's not right, and it wasn't right because of what was being displayed?
But I think what I noticed is there was more so, if I'm looking at the hospital, I felt like basically we didn't come to hospital, if I'm honest with you. I would see lots of other races turn up in need, but I just figured we just don't come to hospital. And I think we get to the stage where it's a crisis and we bypass hospital and section.
So I've seen, but just within the NHS myself, I spent some time in a few years ago, and there's just the arguing between races within the staff, like the nurses. Like you've got like an Asian section, you've got the Blacks and you've got the whites. It's just chaos. Like they can't even get on. So how are they going to look after the person my colour kind of thing? So I've kind of seen it firsthand.
And you also have to think about things like racial trauma as well in terms of that, because it's like we are always reminded of our Blackness. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not just we have to think about a health condition or we need to check our health. We also have to think about how we're going to be perceived, what that looks like. And it's been quite sad to see that, I'm really in a great position where I can offer healthcare to people. But when I hear all the horror stories about kind of accessing the NHS and the dismissiveness, and then you hear all the horror stories, even like for Black women as well, how we're more likely to die in childbirth and things like that. And there is something I think within our culture. I don't know if you guys have read a book called Rest is Resistance.
No.
Really recommend it, but it talks about how us as Black people, we do keep going and going and going. Yeah. We will celebrate if we go into work and we're still sick, but we keep going. We won't take a day off. We'll be like, we're keeping going. We're doing everything. We're not taking a rest. If we're resting, we're not productive. We need to keep going. And that links back to us, you know, in terms of being immigrants, where we're coming from. You have to focus, you have to hustle, you have to, you know, find your place in this country. But when do you get a rest? When do you get a chance to be like, I need somebody to look after me, I need to check in with my health? And that, you know, institutional stuff. I could go on about this all day. So
This is quite interesting, man, because I was watching a podcast the other day. Shout out to Hits, man.
Yes.
Hits is a bad man. Yeah. Big shout out, man. I hope you're watching this, my guy. Basically, what Hits was saying recently was talking about the legal system in this country. And he was talking about this legal law, or this legal statute called Schedule 7, to do with ports and how they can stop people at ports in the UK. And they have something like 59 minutes to interrogate you. But it's the only time ever anywhere in the country where they can have access to your phone, they can have access to your belongings, and you can't resist. You can't even call a lawyer. No, it's the feds. But I'm going to link that point, because what Hits was basically saying is that he's come to the realization, and Hits is of Eastern Asian background, so he's from Pakistan, I believe, and he's basically saying, look, guys, I've come to the realization that I'm a second-class citizen in this country. So my experience as an Asian British person is going to be not so different, or not so dissimilar from a Black English person, but it's going to be very different from a white English person. And he said when he was younger, he was really angry about it. And that's probably why he turned to the roads and whatever, wanted to make something of himself, like we all do, like all of us do. We all made a choice. Some of us decided to go the academic route. Others do decide to do the trapping or whatever. But essentially, when you look at what we're both trying to achieve in our respective fields, is we just want a better living standard, better accommodation. And what you said earlier, Martina, about rest is resistance, a lot of us have got this, and I have it too. When I go to work, I feel like I need to be at work on time, or at least ahead of everyone. Because if I'm 5 minutes late, they're going, oh, this nignogs. They're always late.
That's racial trauma.
You know, I believe it is, you know.
White privilege doesn't account for things like that. Because you could just go in and do your job.
I've got a question for all of you. When you're on annual leave, do you find yourself checking your emails?
Absolutely.
Stop that.
No, I do, because I
do as well.
It goes back to your point, Martina, of that whole thing.
That's
of
true. Yeah.
If I don't want them to say, well, boy, because he's off. Something, this ain't been done. You know what I mean? So I always try to prepare myself now that when I go back on Monday, I know what I'm dealing with.
But again, I think that's could be down to your workplace. And
no, but I've done that
because I've had that before. I had that thing. I was like looking at emails. I was like, you're supposed to be on holiday. I was like, no, I've got to look at this, reply to that, and stuff like that. But went to a workplace more equal. They make you feel like you've earned this, basically. You've earned your time off, and so I'm cool now.
But my lasting point, though, Doc, and this goes back to your initial question: do all of these external stimuli impact or exacerbate the heart conditions that we have on ourselves? Because is heart attacks, linked to like hypertension, overworking, hence why we die more, or we die quicker rather, or maybe more?
So I think the theory is that we have. So when in the environment that we're in, as we were just talking about, and I like your term racial trauma, we're in a position or a place where often, as Black people, we have to do more for the same or less. Yes. So that puts more stress on you. Now, the body has mechanism. Stress in the right doses is good for us. It helps us focus, helps us, have attention, helps us prioritize. But in the long term, it's not good. Stress long term creates other hormones that can cause destruction. They can fur up your vessels. So there is links you could link to saying leading a stressful life, having to battle through battle can put you into this risk category. There are other risk factors, which is one of the next questions I was going to ask. I think it's important while we're here to kind of see what we think are risk factors. That we have two types of risk factors when we talk about medicine. We have modifiable and non-modifiable. Our non-modifiable is that we're men and we're black. So as black men, we're just more at risk of having heart disease. But there are modifiable ones. Do any of you guys know what they are?
Give us an example.
Yeah.
So an example of a modifiable one is smoking.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, then that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer.
You still clean?
No.
No, you gave up. You gave up.
No, he said yeah. He winked as he's like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
What else? Can you think of anything else?
Yeah, man. Bare chicken shops in the urban areas.
Yeah, which was, I'm glad you said that. Right. So what you say links into another factor, and what we all said at the beginning is that we've all pretty much grew up in a council estate.
Yeah.
And in council estates, it's well documented that the distribution of fast food chains that supply food with high salt, high fat is up there. When you go to more affluent areas, they're very, very hard to find.
Yeah,
Chains.
just like betting shops.
Betting shops and stuff like that. So you not only do you are as immigrants and from what we brought into, do we come in at a lower socioeconomic status? Yeah. We're in cramped conditions. We're constantly flooded with these negative vices, and then we have to battle through trauma and trauma.
So, but you know stuff that we've inherited from our colonial past. Like, I don't know if any of you eat this, but corned beef and rice is fucking amazing.
Of course, on a Saturday. That's what man used to do on a Saturday with gladiators.
Sweet corn in that. Remember gladiator?
Yeah, I don't watch that now. I can't. This rehashing.
Yeah.
Get some new in it. Get some new ideas.
Yeah.
No one can bring Shadow back. Sorry,
Shadow's been on a journey.
Has it?
No, Shadow's
Has
been.
he?
Yeah, that one on camera.
Yeah.
If you're from West or Northwest, you know that that Shadow's been on the journey.
But the thing is this, we all work now. We all come out of the council estate, but we still eat corned beef and rice. After knowing, especially when we know the corned beef is probably the worst element of the beef.
Well, it's better than bloody spam. I don't know.
What the hell spam? I still don't know what spam is.
See the spam
Nightmares, bro. Nightmares of that thing.
I think spam's the white people's corned beef.
Really? But even now, right? Even now, with my educated self, with my professional self, I still find myself eating foods that have been culturally passed down to me. And now I've got the cognizance knowing that, you know what, I should be really eating this. I should be eating a piece of salmon or something. But because I love it so much, and I just love the taste of corned beef and rice, as simple as it is, am I putting myself at risk for continuing in sort of inheriting those dietary or those culinary sort of, links to pre-colonial times, to slavery times that literally were linked to us getting the worst of the food.
What's left of
and
it.
Therefore, speeding up our decaying process.
I'm a firm believer that everything in life is great in moderation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that as long as we can, I think the best thing is educating ourselves. So as long as we're aware, of what is in the food we're eating, and then we can stack it in frequency. And I think that where we need to really educate ourselves is what exactly is in the food we eat. Like there's lots of hard food that, as I've grown older and I've gone for education, I realized, the amount of salt and this and that.
West Indian.
West Indian foods and cuisine. Some of the things that I love, I look back now and I'm like, rotted. That's that's laden. But it's fine if it's in moderation. But if your every dinner is, corned beef and rice, rice and peas and chicken. We had rice and peas. I don't know about you guys, but my rice is like mountain. You get what I mean? Like I look back at the plates of rice, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
You say that, but I think we're not eating the right foods from our cultural backgrounds anymore like we used to when we were coming up. Because I'm sure if you speak to the kids now, they don't know about certain things like constitutional bitters or planting or the Cersei tea. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, just to clean you out. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? All of them stuff. Movie's nasty, but it does the job. You know what I'm saying? It does the job.
So, but do we have any data in terms of how our forefathers how their health were in comparison to the modern Black British person? Because it'll be interesting to see, when our grandparents came through with their Caribbean and African, infusion in the cuisine. You know, some of them, you used to see them, you know, in the old days, like you used to see loads of old black people talking on the bench and they looked old and strong.
Yeah.
And I also want to add that like Dominica has the highest number of centurions, I believe. So people are living like longer in like Dominica, but they're still eating all the hard food. So what's that about?
Yes. So I'm glad you guys said this. So a huge difference also between here and there is our activity levels. So in this country, everything is really geared towards a very sedentary lifestyle. So like you go to the office, you sit down, you know, most people work at home, laptops, everything has almost become stationary. Back from, you know, our heritage roots, the meal you ate, you basically, you know, you grew it, you did you know, you put, like when that food lands on your plate, you've expended probably 3 times the calories that day for that plate. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it goes to show that there's a degree that you can offset with being very active and very physical. And I think our lifestyle, and I do believe there's a strong, wherever you grow up, like that, natural selection is a thing that selects you for the environment you're in.
Yeah.
So being the fact that we were in the Caribbean, our genetics were designed for the food we ate, the water we drank, the sun we got, and the lifestyle we lead. You then take somebody from that and drop them into a different environment, different levels of, you know, gases in the air, different types of water, densities with salts, and you know, then you're changing the environment. And then if we then change our lifestyle as well, so we're not as active, it makes sense why. Yeah, I think the easiest thing, and I haven't looked at this, and it's a great question, I think the best way to do it would be almost to sample the health of people in the countries who have still maintained that lifestyle and then compare it to here. And I think you'll be able to get a good comparison.
Because I don't think it's no surprise that all of us in this room are probably vitamin D deficient, because I know I am, and I actually take the spray, every day.
I take the tablets. I need to know about that spray.
Nah, the spray is more effective than the tablet.
Yeah,
I'll send you the link after.
And
please.
B12 as well.
Yeah, I take B12 as well.
So is our very existence detrimental then?
No. I think what we have to understand is we can't have a one size fits all again. Like we are from a different environment, and we have to almost appreciate our genetic predisposition and understand that coming to this environment, we have to tailor our lifestyle and our life to what, you know, our genetics and what our environment is good for. So trying to be as physical as possible. If you're not as physical as possible, you probably shouldn't have corned beef and rice for lunch. You know, hard food.
So can I just ask, what is the biggest killer? Is it heart attacks for black community?
It's a good question. It's hard to compare everything.
Yeah.
And to do this. But what I'll do is I'll talk about the big hitters.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So another big hitter is cancer. Yeah. Big hitter in the black community. So I wanted to say that, any guys know what is the biggest hitter, cancer, for, and I'm sorry, I know you're here. I didn't know you were going to be here, but for black men.
Prostate.
Prostate, 100%.
Have the man them got their prostate checked out? Because I got mine done last year.
I got mine in my family. My dad passed away from
God bless his soul.
My dad had it. Thankfully, they caught it early. So
my dad was a doctor. He didn't check himself. He was
Wow.
ignorant to it, and so obviously it just got worse and spread everywhere. So by the time he fought it for a while, and then just gave up in it, and so so for me that's a big checker every year kind of thing.
And I think it's telling that I think a lots of the people I speak to know somebody in the black community who has either had it or has fought it.
So it's funny because I watched TalkSport. I'm a fan of Simon Jordan, and he had prostate cancer. So he was saying the stats for white men is 1 in 8. 1 in 8? Yeah, and then in black men it's 1 in 4.
Wow. Why do you think that is though?
So
sorry.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And that's literally what I was going to say to you. That was going to be my next question. Why do you think? You, me, you, maybe not you so much. Maybe not so much.
Get out of here.
it's all right.
Are 4 times more likely to get prostate
I
cancer?
know I don't have a prostate, but can I just say maybe is one of the reasons, again, that accessibility and in terms of when you go to the services, being taken seriously and how it's advanced. Because I've heard stories, unfortunately, and I know people that have gone to the doctors, gone to seek medical advice, and they've just been like, oh no, it's fine, it's okay, or, you know, we'll delay your appointment. By the time they go back, it's like stage 3 or something.
Is it just kind of awareness to go, like, people, are we more likely to just kind of say, oh, no, I'll do it next week or something like that, so ourselves, maybe
I think
that could be a thing. Because before my dad passed away and stuff like that, I was very blasé to things like that. I lift weights, I do this,
I'll be okay.
I'm cool, I'll be okay.
I want to say I think I could be linked to vitamin D deficiency, potentially.
Is it also because maybe we... Nah. Let's
Go.
too damn nah. Yeah.
Do you know what? Sorry, yeah.
Everyone's like, yeah. No.
I'm only 50% anyways.
Good for it though, like if you
So the evidence actually says not chopping enough can increase your risk of having prostate cancer.
Okay.
Oh, more shopping required. Chop.
Got a pattern.
I was going to ask one. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Black men not chopping. That's a misnomer. That's impossible.
Well,
Yeah.
so it's funny you say that because I work in diversity inclusion. Like we have a lot of external partnerships. So I did some work with Terence Higgin Trust, and they were saying like when it comes to HIV and AIDS in this country, the levels are rising for Black Caribbean men.
Yep. That's the next thing I'm going to come on to. Yeah.
So hold on. I need to address this. By ejaculating more regularly, sorry to if I'm trying to be scientific here, reduces the risk of prostate cancer. So, but that really would require the assistance of a woman to help you do that.
Or you could.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's the next thing as well.
Because culturally we don't pattern them things.
Yeah, we
there.
don't. That's not our Steve.
It's seen
Be a
almost,
wanker.
disgusting.
No. Let's be real.
Culturally,
like,
yeah.
If you talk to your non-black boys,
They like, but when I'm today, mate, but I came to see you, I was like, bang.
bro, you say to the man, them, yo, there's a man.
I get gal.
I don't need to do that.
Man, I gal.
You know?
Okay, so we touched on bringing it back in, a good few points that are all very key, actually. So I agree. I think a big part that's been recognized is, first of all, the thing we can all control, which is education. Yeah. I think there isn't enough education, and there isn't any proper governmental level schemes that are pushing out into the community to say, do you know, just because you're Black, you're more at risk, get your prostate checked. Mm-hmm. So I think again, going back onto what we were talking about a bit earlier, Black people are more ready to just soldier on. Let's just work through. Like, I'm going to keep going to work, even though I'm not feeling great, I'm going to keep doing it. And by the time they do present, because the evidence shows that Black people, when they do present, tend to present later. In cancer, that's the problem, because as soon as the disease spreads, it's much harder to treat, and the prognosis is poor. And then again, tapping into what you're saying, the evidence does show also that when Black people present to primary care or to care facilities, they are often not taken as seriously as their white counterparts, which is completely wrong, obviously. But as an individual level, I think it's really important that Black people understand exactly what it is, and therefore are knowledgeable. So when they do present to facilities, they are talking from a place of saying, this is what it is. This is my suspicion. And once you do that, there is no health professional that can say,
You know what? There's two things on that, actually. So my sister passed away from cystic fibrosis quite a young age. And I wanted to get tested to see if I was a carrier. So I went, she was in Great Ormond Street Hospital most of her life. So I went there because I thought, okay, they know us and all this. They'll do the right checks. Did the first check, everything was cool. And then obviously met my partner, and I don't know, something was bugging me. I was like, something don't feel right. Now I can't be a carrier because we've got different moms. So it wasn't within me. But I just wanted to make sure, innit? Obviously, if I have a child and all that. So I went back to the GP. It was a different GP, same doctor surgery and all that. And he goes, "Oh, you've only had one of the tests." I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "There's another 3 that you haven't had. So there's actually 4 different tests for cystic fibrosis at that moment in time." They didn't even tell me. So you're right about the research thing.
Ignorance can be a big
But he went, he left. So I'd had one, because you have to do it at different times or whatever. So I'd had the second one, went back to do the third one. I said, "Oh, I want to get this done." I was actually told I was being aggressive. And that I was unnecessarily concerned or whatever. But, in the family line, someone had passed away from it. It's not a joke.
serious.
But you make a great point there, because I wonder if you lived in a particular area, would you have been afforded that same sort of treatment? In a sense, what I'm saying is, if you lived in a more affluent area.
So I grew up in Muswell Hill. So it was,
and you still
that?
and that's, so
That surprised me.
I'm surprised to hear.
Yeah. So
then did it make you think, all right, do I need to go down the private healthcare route? Because
I didn't have the money then. I was
No, but after that incident there, because I feel that's something that we as black people, we don't seem to go in that direction.
I think I've been fortunate that my job comes with
Same here.
private healthcare and all that. One of the things I always look at is for the kids.
Yes.
Any terms and T's and C's I sign, I'm get the kids on there. For that, I guess it is for that reason, that experience. And it's obviously when you have something like traumatic, like you said, you get yourself checked out, etc., because that happened. For me, it's with the kids, anything that I notice that is a sign of that or whatever, I'm straight away there. And luckily that, now it's very different. This is when I was probably in my late teens or whatever.
Yeah.
But even with private medical care, I've been there. I had a really bad hernia when I was younger. 10 years ago and stuff. I remember I went there and the doctor was just obviously asking me my signs, my symptoms and stuff like that. And I was going through it with him and he was just wasn't taking me seriously. So you are, and you go to the gym. So it's just I'm paying you money. This is coming out of my wages and you're not taking me seriously.
I think, having listened to what Doc has said and our collective sort of, input, I honestly think it's to do with our socioeconomic value and how we are perceived. Because if we were considered to be a premium or an elite group of immigrants, we would be treated so fucking well. Pardon my French, but we would.
It's funny you say that, because I remember I went Chelsea and Westminster, and I will big them up because I had surgery there a couple of years ago and they were good to me, and I did think it is because it was Chelsea and Westminster. But I think one of the reasons why I got the care, because I still worked for a higher education institute that was linked to them. So as soon as I said that I worked for them, they're now one of my former employees. Whole demeanor change. It's you took man seriously because I worked for that institution which was linked to your hospital, and it just makes me think enough of us are not afforded that luxury.
And even when
I've had to lie before to get X-rays and stuff. So I know, you say, you feel something's off, it's not right, let me check it. But when you go there, for a 10-minute GP appointment, it's no, you're fine, it's okay, you don't need to. No, I'm telling you something's not right with me. I know you have the services, I pay into the system for how many years, get me the treatment that I need. 100%. But I've had to more than once, and I know a lot of people, we've all had to say that our conditions or what we've got is worse than what we have. But we're not lying about our pain or what we're going through. But why do we have to do that?
But again, it goes almost what you're saying, innit? Apparently, our threshold is different. And therefore we can tolerate, which you all know.
But you know what? That point that you made, obviously, I'm not in that fitness shape now, but they do look at us, I think, and think, look at him. Exactly. That's the exact word. Yeah, you're an athlete.
Big buck.
Sell him on the fields right now. You can do the fields.
But I do wonder if there's that thing in the back of their minds, they're the fastest runners, they're the this, they're the that. You hear all the prejudices when it's you're watching TV and that. And you can see it. When I was at Bedford, I went to the Bupa there, and they just looked at me. One of them come up to me, was are you a football player or something? Like, bro, I work in human resources. Like, it's from that. Like, and they just have that perception.
I think it's like genetics.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're cool.
I think, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
We're about to lip sync, man. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
I've been pushing it, you know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah, man, pushing me away. Don't worry. You know,
No more caution.
come on. Come on, it's all jokes. But also, I think it's twofold, you know, because I think it's about, if health is a business, they don't look at us like you guys ain't got no money. So why do we need to help you guys out? You got no dough, you're broke, you know? So, and at the same time, you guys were slaves for how many longer? You're still here.
And our bodies were used as research as well. Do you remember with black women, in terms of things like, you know, childbirth and things like that, operated on without anaesthetic? Our bodies. Read.
Yeah.
History
And
about
also,
it.
remember, we got a big distrust. You know, you only got to look at the Tuskegee trials where they're injecting the pilots with syphilis, and then they wonder why when it came to, you know what, a couple years ago, we weren't on it.
But do you know what's interesting actually? Because we're saying all this. Like, my wife's from India, so I know this is black thing. But when she gave birth, I shouldn't laugh actually. When she gave, I know I'm really gonna get fucked over. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. No. So when the second one was being born, basically it was COVID. So I weren't allowed there until a certain point in the delivery, whatever. And basically, she wanted to wait for me before she decided whether she was going to have the epidural or not. And unfortunately, I didn't get there in time because I had to drop off the eldest one. So she had to do it without pain relief, just gas and air. And there was one point I remember, like she won't mind me saying it, she looked fucked at that point. Like, she was really uncomfortable and everything. And one of the nurses turned around and was just like, oh, those Asians. And I was like,
Whoa.
yeah. And I do you know what?
Was this in London or outside of London?
This is in Bedford.
Oh.
This is in Bedford. But like, so it's like, it's across, I looked at that woman, and I tried my hardest not to.
Thumping our blood clot.
yeah. And it just makes you think, like, at that moment, because the baby's heart rate was dropping and everything. So it wasn't the fucking time. It's the honest truth. It was not the time.
To have that in you
And
at
it's
that
just
point in time.
yeah. So it's systemic, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
But even with that there, I think that shows us when it comes to black people, when we're in primary care or secondary, we don't have advocates. It's like the other day, someone close to me was in hospital and they were handling her atrociously. So I had to step in and speak to registrars and say, yo, this can't run.
Yeah.
But I had to do the whole, good afternoon, Mr. Blake here. As soon as man dropped that, the whole demeanor changed. Okay, Mr. Blake, we can do it. Now, if I'd gone in rags, what a blood clot. Oh, you've been aggressive. You know what I mean? So,
This is how you approach it
differently,
But even though there's times that you could have approached properly and you would still get the same because of what you're seeing at this black man and you know what I'm saying.
So also in the aim of education, I'm going to ask you guys some questions now because you're back at school now, yeah? So who knows what the prostate does? What's its actual function?
Break down
enzymes,
and
amino acids.
I don't know.
waste.
All I know is its location.
Its location, okay. Yeah. So the prostate is a gland.
Yeah.
It's about walnut size and shaped.
Yeah. I know that.
And it's not meant to, it does produce the actual semen.
I was going to say that.
That's what
So your testes produce the actual sperm, but the fluid that bathes it comes from the prostate.
The fluid that bathes it.
I just got this mad.
Put the mic on.
Wait, take it this.
I could just see man them watching this and go and drawing gal and say, look, gal, if you want to save my life, I need side. I need to unload.
No, but babe, you're causing me cancer right now.
But again,
I feel like that's a real.
No, go on.
No.
No, but again, we joke about it. But you know, you look at American Pie. Do you remember the scene in American Pie? Man, yeah, like, hey, give me 2 fingers. The man them would never be like, give me 2 fingers. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Okay, so next question. So, what are the ways that we test for prostate cancer?
blood test.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what blood test that is?
That's where they check your levels.
Yeah.
Your PSA?
PSA, good, really good, really good. So that's one way. I'm going to come back to that in the name of education. What other ways?
The check.
Physical check.
Physical check.
Yeah.
What does that entail?
Physical check.
No,
Insertion.
The physical check is the whole.
I don't know. I haven't. Is that okay? Because I haven't had.
You got 3 fingers.
I don't know why you got 3 fingers in the front. what doctors you even seeing, bro?
I was gonna say, Terry, have you checked their certificate on the wall, bro?
You know me?
Was it actually a doctor, bro?
Terry brings his own gloves.
Oh, my
Now,
God. All jokes aside.
so why do you think now? So we've been obviously talking about how big it is in the deal in the black community, and prostate cancer is a big deal for men in general. So why are there no national schemes? Do you guys know why there's no national schemes? Like there's breast cancer screening. Why? Is
Oh, you mean like as in? Because yeah, you're right. Women get sent the letter in the post and stuff to do
Going back
that.
to what you're saying, the funding and when I say funding, the narrative is not pushed enough to get the funding to make a scheme like that happen because as Mike was saying, we're looked upon a certain way. So therefore, because we're looked upon a certain way, we don't need it.
But that's.
Yeah, but even 1 in 8 is quite big though for men.
I was gonna say 1 in 8 is still.
Is it just?
I will say I'll share personal experience. Yeah, thankfully I got work. We got Bupa healthcare, so I went up and I had my annual prostate check done, and it was a black doctor. Thank God it wasn't you. Yeah. So I would have walked out. I would have like nah.
Black doctor in the UK.
Yeah, I was like, but he was a big dude. I was like, come on, you lot are taking a piss. anyway, but all jokes aside, I think he respected it for coming through, and he was talking in his doctor sort of tone, but at the same time was like, yo, you could kind of say like, you know what, proud of you for doing this. I said, bro, but you don't know me though, because I know, but you know what I mean, like us man don't come here like that. And it was like, yeah, I said, look, bro, I'll be honest with you, yeah, I got a tree picnic, I got a wife, I'm trying to stay alive for them. I'm not even trying to, like, my ego can go to the side, you know. And he said, you know what it entails? I said, bro, it's not my first rodeo, bro. I'm trying to stay alive. But even though we were kind of busted, he was mad. But that's the reality. But even though we were kind of like talking, he was basically encouraging me to tell all my friends, not to go to his clinic particularly. But he was basically saying, look, bro, we're 1 in 8, you know. So like one of your brethren that you're close to, someone you love and care, might not make it. You might not see them again. And that's that is the startling reality of what we're facing. So I'm encouraging any man. I don't care. I mean, obviously we can be a bit juvenile about it, but the reality is like your life depends on it. And the reason why we don't go, a lot of us don't go, is because our egos are too big, and we would rather die. We'd rather die, miss out on the whole, you know, the rest of our lives, because of not wanting to even discuss it, even have a conversation. You know, have the conversation, and because of the procedures involved as well, we would rather literally suffer, and it makes no sense to me.
You don't have to have obviously that.
Yeah.
The blood test.
Yeah. So on that, so the reason so the question I said before is, why is there not national screening? And the reason is there is no real, to do national screening, you need a really sensitive test, a test that if you've got the disease, it says you've got it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's this thing, without making this podcast boring, called false positives and false negatives. Yeah. Every test will give you, if you have a disease, it will say you don't have it. And if you don't have the disease, it will say you have it. Yeah. Every test has some degree of giving the false answer, basically. The thing about PSA is its false positive and negative rates are really high. Okay. Yeah. So things like, even if you've had vigorous sex before, and then you go and get your PSA checked, it could be high. Wow. If you've got prostatitis, which is like a viral inflammation of the prostate, it can be high. So that's the reason they say there is no national screening. But there are other tests, like, well, I say other tests, there are like, you can get an MRI of the prostate, and that's supposed to be quite sensitive. So I think the key thing that I agree exactly what you're saying is we should go and get checked. We should know the tests, which is things such as PSA and getting MRI scans and having what we call it a digital rectal examination. not like Terry said with 4 fingers in a thumb. Choosing one finger and get tested, because the cold hard facts, like putting all jokes aside, is cancer is very treatable if it's caught early, but as soon as it starts to spread, it's a big problem.
But then again, you touch upon something with that when it comes to cancer treatment in the Black community, because I feel a lot of us believe in holistic approaches. So I feel there's a lot of us, I feel a lot of us would turn down radiotherapy or chemotherapy for, yeah,
yeah, it's very true. There was a comedy I was watching, I can't take it. I can't remember who the guy was, but he was on stage and he was talking, I think he was a doctor actually, and he was talking about like herbal remedies. Yeah. And he was cracking joke and he says, people don't understand, like the herbal remedies that worked got converted into medications and we give to people. So take the medication. No medication, nothing we take comes without risk. And that's the thing we have to understand. Everything, even food we take, anything we take, there's risk and benefits, but we have to weigh that out.
Well, we saw that with the vaccine.
Yeah.
Doc, for females, is it when for females, is this when the smear test comes then?
Yes.
Where they're basically getting checked for similar...
For cervical cancer.
That is one of the most uncomfortable, intrusive, horrible things ever.
But it's the only way to check
That's what I say to people. You know what? That 3 minutes is worth it in terms of, like you said, that longevity of life. Yeah, so we get letters regularly. You know, I think it's every 3 years. HPV, which could, turn into cervical cancer. Yeah.
So, I think you touched on a good point that I want to talk about. So, do you guys know what HPV is?
No. I thought it was a disease.
Yeah, it is. Okay. No, so it's human papillomavirus. There's different strains of it. Yeah. Most of the time, this virus people can carry, and they not really have any signs. The thing about viruses, though, the way that they work is they integrate in your own DNA, and then they start producing themselves. And by that very nature of integrating your DNA, they can cause breaks and then cause, malformations. And that's basically how warts and things grow. But what can happen is because of these aberrations in DNA, you can start to get cancer. So there's been screening, there was a big campaign, and I think now they have done that. There are pretty good vaccines you can get when you're young, but it's only given to girls. So
why not men?
Exactly. So, and this is the thing we have to think about. We do have to think about and talk about the risk that is proposed to men. So also, being in the head and neck region, which is the area I love, there is a risk with HPV, which is throat cancer. Yeah. So men that have sex with men could be at risk of this, and men also who go down on women could be at risk of this. So we could vaccinate men and women, but at the moment there's only a vaccination policy for women.
So Sizzler.
Scare you. Hold on.
No. I was gonna make a point. I was gonna make a point. So man like Capleton and Sizzler were literally saving people's lives. Yeah.
They were probably doing that anyway.
I mean,
Fire for that.
but no, that's interesting because I have heard about that, and again, not many people do know the risk of oral sex. Yeah. Which is kind of, then that would make it somewhat unnatural then. Hence why there is a disease.
Yeah, because what's his name got it? Kurt Douglas.
Is it?
Yeah.
Michael
Douglas
Douglas
got throat cancer, and then everyone was saying it was because he was bowing.
Yeah. But true, that was the same. So next thing I'm going to hit you guys with.
But Doug said anything in moderation.
So next thing I'm going to hit you guys with. So this is a fact. So diabetes has a worse prognosis than HIV.
Oh,
what?
Yeah. So let that sink. So diabetes has a worse prognosis for you than HIV.
Please break that down.
And black men are developing diabetes earlier and with more severity. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about it in a second, but I want to ask you guys, why do you think that's happening, first of all?
Well, I think it goes back to what you're saying about that sedentary lifestyle, the sugar that we're consuming, Like for me, like when I came back to this country in 2013 and I put on a bag of weight, I was pre-diabetic. And when the man said, "Yeah, you're pre-diabetic," I said, "F that."
I was as well when I turned 30.
Yeah, funny enough, I was 30 as well.
Yeah. Turned 30, man. Like really bad lifestyle, like too much drinking, smoking, bad food for you, just general stress levels in my life as well. So that as well. But also going back to your point, I think it's got down. Could it be because you could have it without knowing it? Like it could just be there.
Is this diabetes talking about?
Yeah.
Hold on. So what you're telling? What you're saying is, diabetes is far more ravaging than HIV is, and somewhat black men are less likely to contract HIV, but more likely to contract diabetes.
And when we think about the diseases, when you hear HIV, people would jump back a lot more and be like, "Whoa!" But when people say diabetes, they're like, "Oh, it's okay." And actually, when we look at the consequences and sequelae of both, you have diabetes. From a medical perspective, you're going to be a lot worse off.
Really? So we better protecting ourselves from, say, employing safe sex and reducing the HIV infection. But when it comes to our dieting and our exercising and everything else, we don't take it as seriously.
Because the thing is diabetes basically is lots of sugar in the bloodstream, and with all the sugar, it damages everything. So it damages blood vessels, it damages eyes, it damages nerves. So people get things we call diabetic neuropathy. So you lose sensation in your feet. Now, it doesn't sound that bad, but if you don't know what you're doing, you kick something, you don't know, you broke the skin, it gets infected, you don't know. You got a bloodborne infection, boom, you're in hospital, they have to amputate a limb.
That's serious.
If the blood vessels in your eyes, it can affect. People get glaucoma, they lose their vision. It affects the vessels, all of you. There's no system, no organ that cannot be ravaged by diabetes.
I suffer from glaucoma, but it's hereditary. Both my parents have it, my sister has it, and I've got it. I've been diagnosed with it just after COVID.
Yeah, you know,
I've got to put eye drops.
Put eye drops in,
You know what's mad with diabetes as men as well? Can cause erectile dysfunction. I watched I watched the Viagra drama series on BBC the other day.
Why?
Because it's the blood vessels. So to get an erection, if you just tuned in at this moment,
Mike asked the question.
The penis basically has to fill up with blood. And what happens in diabetes is those blood vessels basically get furred up and clogged off. So that process can't happen. And that's also what happens to the heart, which is why you get heart attacks, vessels in the brain, you get strokes.
So Doc, how do we check ourselves for diabetes?
So again, as we've touched on, especially as we're hitting our decades of life, I think it's very important. I'm glad to hear you guys are doing it. Yearly checkups are essential. Going to the doctor, getting your bloods taken, your blood pressure, all of it, getting a rectal exam, screens for basically all of these. The good thing about diabetes early on is it's treatable. If you change your lifestyle, you change what you eat, you take more exercise, you can quite often reverse it before it's too late.
Clearly done.
I've got another question then. So that is linked to socioeconomics. How much would an MRI scan, or is it an MRI scan where you have a full body check from head to toe? How much would that cost on average?
Good question. So it's difficult for me to say because in the NHS, which is something I do love about the NHS, we don't tend to talk about money. I know in America, when it comes to things, boy, they give you an itemized bill. You took this blood sample, you had it, everything gets itemized and you get it. But in the NHS, we don't really talk about the cost. The only thing is with investigating, there are risks of finding things that don't mean anything. And incidental thing. We call it incidentalomas, and they can stress out people more than actual anything. Lots of things we have in our body are benign, but as soon as somebody tells you, you've got a benign growth on your kidneys, you might start thinking, oh shit, is that going to become cancer? When we autopsy people at death, there's lots of benign things we find in them that never ever affect them. So I don't recommend people just say, test me for everything.
Because there's going to be something. Everyone's got something.
And there may be some false positives, and I reckon that could cause more undue stress. I think the general screening for most of the diseases is good. And at that point in time, a good physician should also talk to you about you. He should say, so how's things been? And while he's talking to you, he'll be trying to elicit red flags of diseases that he may need to screen for as well. So if, I'm talking to you and you say, oh, I've noticed that I'm dropping weight and I'm sweating at night and, things like that. We call those B symptoms. Sometimes that can be linked to some form of cancer. So then I would say, okay, let's just throw you into a CT scan. Let's get it. Because most cancers go between the head and the pelvis. So we get you a CT, head, chest and pelvis. And that usually helps us to just tick that off. So a good physician should be doing those things when you go to see them for that checkup.
Yeah. French, I had one done for like $250. I couldn't send you the details.
MRI scan.
Basically, just full body MRI, basically.
Yeah. I mean, like I say that. I could probably get it done through work. I can just pay the excess at work, but it's like, when you reach 40,
I reckon
young,
40 is the age, is definitely, because in our mind, I'm definitely guilty for this. I still think I'm young. And then I realize when I leave the gym, like, this is hurting, my knees are hurting, my back hurting. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, God. So I'm humbled immediately,
So that there are two types of diabetes, from my understanding.
Yeah.
But what are the symptoms of any of them? Can you share some case studies?
That's a good idea. So the one we're basically talking about here is type 2. You kind of say that that's like one that you can kind of accumulate throughout life because of life choices, typically speaking. So type 2 diabetes. So diabetes itself means that we just have a problem managing our blood sugars. People who are type 1 diabetic just don't seem to produce the right hormones to grab their sugar, basically.
It's all genetic.
That people are usually born with that, and it shows usually early on in life. Type 2 diabetes is basically that it's still being like worked out exactly the cause, but basically we throw too much sugar at our body. Our body's systems for processing how we deal with that sugar isn't great. And I think this comes from our hunter-gatherer, like any calories we get, we grab and we hold, because back in the day, us didn't know when our next meal was coming. So we had to store things. Unfortunately for us now, that's not good. So we pull all of it down, and then our body doesn't know how to work with those sugars, and it causes high sugar levels. Now, the problem with us, everything's in equilibrium. If you disturb equilibrium, you get problems. So if your sugars become too high, you can become confused, you become sick, it can make your blood a bit more acidic, and those aren't really compatible with, sitting up and chatting on a podcast.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, another really interesting point that came up in my research that I just had to bring up. So, Black men, are, and I just need to look at this number again so I don't get it wrong. Yeah, that's right. So Black men are 4 times more likely to be killed by another man, than a white guy. Even though we only make up about 2.4% of the population, and white people make up 82%. So when we're talking about things that really do affect our morbidity and mortality, it'd be wrong to talk about, I guess, man-on-man crime. So why do we think that is? How can we make up such a small number but dominate? This is a topic in itself.
There's a lot to process. So you got basically dodge the man them, dodge the sugar, bust your nuts more regularly. This is a lot, man. It's a tough job.
A lot now.
It's a tough job being a black guy, You can't just be like,
No,
bro.
Aside, like, if you're not in the can, if you're not in the madhouse, you know what I mean? You're doing well.
You're doing really well.
And you're alive, you're doing well. Because I think there's a lot of things that we've all had to encounter. And I don't know about you, but it's harder to bounce back as the decades process. And I'm sure there's more to come. And it's just like, right, how do I keep that same mind? Especially when you've got little ones looking up at you thinking, and you're just thinking all these things like, I got to do this, I got to do that,
So I want to touch on the last point you made. So it's the propensity of black men being potentially killed by another man. Is it irrespective of what color they are? So
irrespective of color, yeah.
Oh,
a black man is 4 times.
It's not even black on black crime.
No, it's not black on. A black man's 4 times in this country. 4 times more likely to be killed by another man. Doesn't matter by what other color.
Okay, well,
in comparison to white men.
Racism, lifestyle you lead.
It's a very concerning stat. It's a very but to me cements what I've always kind of felt that
growing up,
that you know
we all grew up, as we mentioned, on council estates.
Yeah.
And if you just cast your mind back to a little bit of that, like look what you had to navigate.
Yeah.
Is it because people fear us more, and so
Yes.
they would, instead of wounding us,
They go too far.
You go out completely. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's fair. I think they don't like you. That's why they're willing to kill you. That's why you would kill something, because you don't like it, not because you fear it.
No, envy.
envy, fear.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
So envy you would kill something if you can't understand it, if you fear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what this all shows to me is
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
true. Because Mike, think of this analogy. You wouldn't go to a burglar at empty house, would you?
Yeah.
But would you not kill a fox that's coming in your garden because you don't like it?
Go back to the analogy I said.
Yeah.
When you're going to burgle, you're not gonna go burgle an empty yard. You're gonna
Have value.
right. So clearly there is something that we possess or we contain, which the masses envy, dislike, want a piece of. So when you tally all of that, I can understand why that's
But it's this is gonna really this conversation is gonna stay with me for a little longer than the other ones we've been talking about, because it's a hard hitting one, because like I would be sitting on the train or going anywhere I go, somebody in this place or in that tube carriage or whatever would love to do my dance, love to just kill me or see me disappear. And to be honest with you, I mean, why am I acting surprised? I'm not acting surprised, because sometimes you do feel that energy. You know, it's like, and I laugh about it. I'll give you an example. Sometimes when I walk behind people, they see me and they get really scared and really shook. But the thing is, to some degree, I'm aware of this information, and I say to myself, you're more likely to be violent towards me than me be violent towards you. You know, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Change the behavior.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know about
our black experience means we have to think, how is somebody going to perceive 6 foot me down the street? I need to kind of make myself look less maybe threatening. And I'm just minding my own business, man. Yeah, like shit, I look down and you know.
I tell you what, I do that, you know. You know what, when I walk down the street at night, you know, and there's a white lady on the same pavement as me, I cross the road just to give her some comfort.
I feel bad for her. Because
I do. Because I'm not trying to rub you, lady. But I know you think I'm going to rub you,
I know you
but I'm not.
But you know, Steve, because obviously, as I say, I work in DNI and we talk about this example all the time. I can't even put that just on white women anymore. It happens to women with women as well.
Yeah, black women as well. Yeah, no,
Which black women?
No, listen, the other day I was in East Acton and there was a woman of colour and she saw me and she got startled. And I was like, I actually said, look, love, I ain't trying to rob you, I'm trying to get to work. And as soon as I said that, she's like, oh, no. And I just went over my business.
That's disappointing.
Of course it's disappointing.
I would feel more scared if I see a white man walking towards me than one of my own black men.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The times that I felt scared when I've seen groups of men in the street is when it's groups of white guys.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
But I think for us, we feel it both. We see it with a man there, it's like, and you're not from, we don't know you, it's a problem. We're in the next end.
It's like from all sides.
Yeah. And then if it's the ends that we've not known
Game of
to,
Thrones.
and there's not, and there's man that don't look like us, it's just like, because I remember one time I came off at Feltham, and you remember how Feltham used to be, when you, I don't know if the pub is still there by the train station, but I was trying to get the 90 back to Norfolk, and there was a group of like 5 guys outside the pub, and I just thought, you know what, if I walk past you, there's gonna be a problem. But I said, nah, man, I'm not. I walked past all I heard is, nigga. And I said, you know what?
You know that's coming up.
If I turn back, likelihood I'll bang 1 or 2 of them out, but then they'll probably stomp, man. You know what I mean? Or I just fight to live to see another day. And I think a lot of us don't have that whole mindset of
The bigger picture, innit?
And again, it's hard. Exactly what you said is perfect, because you're in an environment where you're already, because of your blackness, are under undue stress. So you then step into these opportunities, and you know, if you're just caught at the wrong moment when you've been taking all of this stress from all these corners, and somebody says something like that, and you're like, again, because I'm black, you know, and that could be the moment, and then boom, they've got you. You're the black guy. You're the aggressor.
And then you're one of the stats.
Yeah. It's very, very true.
And it pains me because I've bought 2 little black boys into this world, and I'm just thinking, I can't you lot go through but there's a likelihood you lot will go through. And it's just like sometimes I question it, like, you know, why bring children into the world, especially black children? But then there's a part of me where I try to be optimistic and think, you know what, you got a superpower. You got to find ways to utilize it like all of us have done. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it hasn't hindered us, but don't best believe it's elevated us. It's just that we've had to channel it in a certain way to make it work for us. And I feel that's an art that's been lost. But that's a story for another day.
So, so we've been through a lot of interesting stuff. So I think it's a good opportunity just to take some final statements before we wrap up. So.
I think for me, it's about reflection, but taking your life seriously. It's about self-caring, self-loving. The fact that we made it this far means that we'll continue to make it for another 1,000 years. So the future is still bright. And if there's anybody that's built to handle this, it must be people like us. So, but thank you anyway. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was really important.
I've learned a lot today. No, there's two things. One, my grandfather lived until 94. And what he used to do after retirement was literally 6 months back in Mauritius. So I think that piece around being home and all that, because one of the things he always used to say to me was, it's too stressful to retire here. So he used to go away for the whole summer. Whole winter, and then come back for summer with us.
Getting all that vitamin D
so I think that stuff we were saying earlier. Go on, sorry.
But even saying that, like, how many times you read the reports where people like us or our parents or grandparents have gone back home, they're getting targeted.
Yeah.
You know, you're going there. It's like we come like nomads.
Yeah.
Nowhere's home.
No, Mauritius, they just want your money. But, second thing, this homicide thing, I think one of the things you said about envy, one of the things I always sort of feel in work environment or even on the street or whatever is our presence. Like, I don't know, I genuinely feel like,
we're powerful. And people know that, but they fear that.
And you notice a lot of people can't look you in the eye. Yeah. Because it's that whole like presence piece and the unknown. I think a lot of it is that as well. And I'll get myself tested.
Good.
Obviously, I'm not a black man, but I've just like learned so much today, and it's just, again, remembering how important and valuable we are as a black community, but importantly as a black man. So please, like, continue to check and take up space, take up time. Just remember you're valued and very important.
I'm gonna keep mine brief and short. I think the man them need to give ourselves grace. Because I think Mike touched upon it. We've come a long way. Yeah. And there's still more things we're going to enjoy. But as long as we're kind and, you know, do things from a clean heart, which doesn't always happen, best believe. But as long as you're not hurting others and you're empowering others, I think that's the way we'll be able to move forward in this land, which is not ours. Yeah. We are guests here. And no matter how much money or status you might make over here, they'll take that passport and tell you for galang. So just always remember that.
100%. Yeah, learn a lot on this episode. But for me, I think it's just encouraging everyone around you to get tested. No one's bad enough or big enough, even if you look like you've got the best physique. Don't know what's going on inside. So keep getting tested and just encourage your friends to. It'll be a friend. If you're really a friend, then you'll help someone out, encourage them to get tested and just, you know, live a unhealthy lifestyle.
One worrying thing, actually, because we laughed about me being half, but you said 1 in 4 black, and there's 4 of you guys here. Yeah. So that's what I've been. It's been really playing on my mind. No, it's true. It's true, man. So you're right, man. It's a reality check.
Yeah, man.
So it's just important, man.
Might be our Dobbs, you know, but he's not here.
Man's taking headshots, he's not even here. Straight shoot from the hip, boys. Obviously, you're not here. I'd conclude on the same basis. Really, really good episode today. We hit home on a lot of important factors in the Black community that I think we do need to address. I think the take-home messages are get tested, nobody's too big, think about your family and your friends and support each other. But it's important that us as a community definitely do everything we can to live long, prosperous lives. And that starts with getting checked and getting tested. This has been Short Back and Sides, another episode. Remember to subscribe, to like, to follow us. We're on all the socials, on TikTok.
TikTok.
X, YouTube,
Facebook.
And also
X.
Yeah, X as well, yeah.
And I swear you set up a Facebook or something.
Yeah, I have, man.
Yeah,
Push that more, yeah. Facebook is there as well. So yeah, and we're on everything basically. Check us out, show us some love, share. Until the next one, peace. Love.
Yeah.
Next thing, man, getting cheers.